Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for answering the call to attend the conference this afternoon. This is the first media conference that will kick off the general election 2015. You can expect more media events like such to introduce our candidates as well as on ground campaign. For today, the first thing I want to do is to launch the campaign team of the Workers' Party for 2015. And the campaign theme is Empower Your Future. Why we talk about the future? The Workers' Party's election team sounded to have such a big picture of future. In 2006, our election campaign team was to have a choice, and in 2011, the team was towards the first world power. But today, we are talking about empower your future, because we have reached a milestone in Singapore after 50 years of nation building. It is important for all of us to ponder about what we have done. What is it in the past, in the last 50 years, and looking forward to the future. Singapore has succeeded in the last 50 years, but the world today is largely very different from the world in the past 50 years. What we have in Singapore today, we have many local talents compared to the past. So what we have relied on to succeed in the past 50 years may or may not necessarily be the same model and formula for us to continue to succeed in the future. So I think it's important in this election that every Singaporean, every voters to think about the future, take stock of the past, and think about what is the best way forward for Singapore. The important question that the voter want to think about is, first of all, whether it is continue to be a good model for Singapore where the political leaders cast a long shadow over every aspect of life, every aspect of society, organization, profession. Whether we should move away from the model to allow, to liberate Singaporeans from exercising their own judgment, to move forward as professionals, and many of them are today recognized internationally for their achievements. And for generally the people, you might want to think about whether or not you want to continue to allow the PNP to decide your future, rather than you should participate in the decision-making process so that you have a say in what the future that you want. So basically, these are questions which I would urge Singaporeans to think about it. And as we move forward, as we go into the campaign, you will hear more from us about empowering your future. 各位 我今天呢要宣布工人党2015年的竞选主题。我们的竞选主题是把握明天，掌握未来。今天是我国建国50周年，在这个时候举行大选呢，有其特殊的意义。我们应该回顾过去，展望将来。50年来，新加坡培养了各方各面的人才，我们的社会也更加成熟。但是我们所面对的国际竞争也和过去不一样。我们应该思考，过去让我们得以成功的模式，是否是一样的适用？过去一党专政的政治架构，集中权力，政府无所不在，通过政治上的直接掌控或者遥控，是否会变成是未来持续发展的障碍？人民是否应该继续在面对政策不满的时候，只能无奈的默默接受，然后等到下一届大选，再通过选票向执政党宣泄不满？在我们迈向一个新纪元的时刻呢，这些都是我们应该思考的问题。那工人党在这一次的竞选呢，就提出了一个这样的竞选主题，就是掌握明天，把握未来。那希望大家呢去多加思考。那么在接下来工人党的竞选的这个过程里面呢，大家应该会听到更多我们有关这个方面的阐述。I will now hand over mic to Party Chairman who will continue with the first document.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming for this first session of our introduction of candidates. And as you can see, this afternoon we have our first 4 potential candidates to introduce to you. Some of you might be feeling a bit insecure because you don't really have any information in hand, but not to worry. Today we will be launching our Workers' Party GE website. The URL remains the same, www.wp.sg. And immediately after this session, we will be uploading all the detailed profiles of the 4 candidates that we're introducing, so you don't have to worry that you will miss out on some details. Okay, now I will first introduce the candidates, say a few words about their involvement in the party, and then I'll hand you over to the individual to address you in some detail about their feelings, their aspirations, and so on. And at the end of the 4 candidates, we will have time for Q&A. Please do not worry. The first candidate I'd like to introduce to you is on my left. He's Dr. Dylan Ng Foo Eng. He's a sociologist, associate professor at NUS, 42 years old, married with a son. Daniel started volunteering with WP after the 2011 general election. He was active both at the grassroots level as well as assisting the members of parliament doing some policy work for parliament. And in 2013, January, he became a party member, so he's been a party member for 2 years now. And he's currently elected into the Central Executive Committee and the president of the Youth Wing. So I'll hand you over to Daniel.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm the father of a 3-year-old son. I miss quite dearly in this election season because I'm always out doing things. He was my inspiration for joining the Workers' Party in the first place and my motivation for staying committed to the cause of a balanced parliament. I seek to empower his future and the future of all Singaporeans. I hope my son's generation will be equipped with the tools and resources to realize their dreams. I hope his generation will have the space to dream in the very first place and to do so with Papa and Mommy. This was what the Singapore of the 1970s and 1980s gave me. Both my parents worked hard and achieved some success. Both imparted to me the values that I hold dear today: hard work, the right and dignity of workers, grounded thoughtfulness, and the kindness and respect for fellow men and women. My parents and my schools gave me the space to experiment and to dream. I dreamt of many things. I dreamt of becoming an astrophysicist, a journalist, a detective, and even a Jesuit priest at one time. I chose to become a sociologist because the democracy movements in Asia, when I was growing up, raised many questions for me. Why did Singapore not democratize like the other Asian nations? Is one-party monopoly rule the reason for economic success? Is this a necessary trade-off or an artificial invention of a ruling elite that's bankrupt of ideas and vision? But as a candidate, I'm not here to pursue knowledge. That is my professional life. I'm here to pursue a political argument in the practice of national service. We need democracy of the rational, respectable, and responsible kind to bring Singapore to the next stage of development, so that our sons and daughters will be empowered for their future. Our Workers' Party Youth Wing's tagline is to explore, experience, and embrace democratic politics. If elected, this is what I will seek to do with all my abilities, at the grassroots, in managing the town, and in Parliament. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. The next candidate I'd like to introduce is Redzwan Hafidz Abdul Razak on the extreme left. Rizwan is an engineer by profession. He's very young, 30 years old, just married. That's why he's so happy. He has actually been with us since 2011 general election. Joined us before the general election then. And since then, he has been active in the party in various capacities. He's a member of the Youth Wing, EXCO. At the same time, he's also active in the Aljunied Constituency Committee, helping in some of our ground activities and in my own division in particular. So I'll hand you over to Rizwan.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rizwan. As the chairman mentioned, I'm 30 years old. I joined the Workers' Party in 2011, and after that, I actually helped out with the Serangoon division of Aljunied PLC. I joined the Workers' Party because I feel it's actually a responsible and rational opposition party. But joining the party was not an easy decision for me. My wife is a civil servant, and I think the fear of being politically associated with civil servant is something real in Singapore. However, with her blessings, we are married for almost 3 years. I actually joined the party with her blessings, and today here I am as a potential candidate for the Workers' Party. One of the issues that I would like to raise during this campaigning period, and also if elected as an MP, is actually the issue of housing, which I think is an issue with most of the younger Singaporeans. And as a young couple myself, I do feel the pinch felt by many young families when it comes to servicing their loans. I attended neighborhood schools prior to my university days, and I was in Pasir Ris Secondary School. And I think being in a neighborhood school actually allows me to see people from various backgrounds and societies. So that was one of the reasons that actually made me wanted to actually serve further. And I actually did some grassroots activities prior to this. I was actually a mentor for the boys in the Singapore Boys Home. And after that, I actually eventually joined the party because I feel that more could be done as a political party member. Thank you. Salam sejahtera semua. Nama saya Rizwan. Saya berusia 30 tahun. Saya bekerja sebagai jurutera dan memiliki ijazah sarjana muda dalam bidang kejuruteraan mekanikal dan juga ijazah sarjana dalam bidang pengurusan kejuruteraan. Saya menyertai parti pekerja pada tahun 2011, 2 bulan sebelum pilihan raya umum 2011. Selepas pilihan raya tersebut, saya menjadi sukarelawan bahagian akar ubi Serangoon. Pada pendapat saya, parti pekerja adalah sebuah parti yang rasional dan bertanggungjawab. Satu isu utama yang saya ingin ketengahkan adalah tentang kos perumahan. Sebagai pasangan yang baru berumah tangga, kadang-kadang kita dapat maklum balas dari orang-orang tua kita menyatakan bahawa kita adalah mahal dan juga kecil. Dan pada pendapat saya, itu adalah satu maklum balas yang bernas. Maka dengan itu, saya akan menguraikan dengan lebih lanjut semasa rapat parti pekerja pada pilihan raya umum yang akan datang. Sekian, terima kasih.
Thank you, Rizwan. The next potential candidate I'd like to introduce is a familiar face, Koh Choong Yong. It's familiar to most people because he did stand as a candidate in the last general election 2011 in the SMC of Sengkang West. Now he's 42 years old, married with 2 boys, and a software engineer by profession. Choong Yong joined the WP in 2006, that means after the previous regime. He's been here for 9 years and served the party in various capacities, not just being in the Central Leadership Council, but also was president of the Youth Wing at one time. And more recently, he was the legislative assistant who had experience working with 2 MPs, MP Chen Choong Mao as well as MP Koh Eng currently. So Choong Yong, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Koh Choong Yong. And in all this interaction, I find that the most important thing to me are the people that I meet. In this election, there are some people who talk about national policies, there are others who talk about local issues. But at the end of the day, we're talking about people. And how all these things that we talk about affect these people. To me, my journey in politics has been guided by the people I meet, the friends I've made, and the people I'm concerned about. So to me, the most important question is, what can be done to ensure that there's a continued bright future for Singapore? And what can be done to empower the people to achieve this future? And with that in mind, when the party calls upon me, I put myself up to run again. 大家下午好，我是许俊荣，今年42岁，在一家美国公司担任电脑软件工程师。在上一届大选，我在盛港西三选区出征。投票日当晚，不幸的没有中选。很多记者问我这个问题，是不是会继续留在工人党？对我来说，这是一个不存在的问题。因为当初我开始参政，是为了一个更基本的原因。我希望能够以我自己小小的绵力，尽量帮助把国会里面那一面倒的情况纠正过来。所以在接下来的4年里面，我继续在工人党里面担任不同的职务，而其中最显著的就是我在2011年成为了陈寿茂议员的国会助理。在他的接见选民的活动当中，和许多基层活动当中，我认识了许多居民，也了解了更深一层的了解了居民所面对的问题，和我们在哪一方面能够帮得到他们。在2013年，因为工作的缘故，常常需要出国，所以不得不卸下国会助理的这个职务。但是我还是继续在远程工作的情况下，协助党内的一些事情。2014年，当各方面都稳定了许多，范荣发议员邀请我到后港成为他的国会助理，很高兴的能够回到社区里面服务。服务的活动范围是一样的，可是2个选区是截然不同的选区。无论如何，我继续的竭尽所能，在区里面服务居民，也是同时也在区里面认识很多朋友。所以这次大选，无论人们说重点是在国家政策，还是选区里的课题，我觉得以人为本。最终我们必须记得的是，这一切的一切都是为了我们所见过的人、所认识、所关系的人而做的。最重要的问题是，能够怎么确保新加坡继续有着美好的远景？人们怎么掌握手中的权利，来达到期待中的未来？我许俊荣就是怀着这样的一念再次参选。谢谢。
Thank you, Choong Yong. The final potential candidate for introduction today is Dylan Ng Foo Eng. He's 40 years old, and for the last 15 years he's been working in the banking industry, married with 2 children. Dylan started volunteering with WP about 3 years ago when he went to help out in Mr. Lau's Meet the People session in Bedok Reservoir, Congo, and also some of the ground activities there. And after this time, he decided that it was time to join the party, which he did this year. So pass on to Dylan.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Ng Foo Eng, 40 years old. I'm married to a supportive wife with 3 young children. I came from a humble family. I worked my way through the university and the corporate world. I spent more than a decade in the banking industry. Now I'm heading the wealth management and loan sales department in the bank. In the year 2009, there was a life-changing event, and I believe it's important to give back to the society through the public service. I joined Workers' Party in 2012 because I wanted to explore how I could contribute towards serving the community. I have been helping out in Workers' Party for the past 3 years, mainly in the Meet the People session, as well as the grassroots activity and events. I believe in offering Singaporeans alternative viewpoints, and Singapore can benefit from a more robust policy-making platform. As Choong Yong mentioned, election is about people. There are still many issues that can be improved upon. These include the bread and butter issue and the population policy at the national level. In my interaction with residents, they continue to feedback to me. They are worried about the cost of living, the retirement adequacy, as well as overcrowding, overpopulation. I am grateful to Workers' Party for the opportunity to allow me to contribute in a bigger way. I look forward to the support of fellow Singaporeans for our continued work to build a more dynamic and vibrant Singapore. 大家好，我是黄富荣，今年40岁。我的家境一般，身居贫穷，亲民，在邻里学校就读。父母亲努力工作，栽培我上学。我毕业于西澳大学经济学和新加坡管理大学私人银行高级学位。我在私人企业工作也有15年，一大半的时间，11、12年都在银行界任职。现在是一间银行财富管理和接待部门的主任。我在工人党帮忙已有3年了，多数在接见居民和基层活动中帮忙。我很感谢工人党给我机会参选。我决定参政是因为这3年来，我和居民沟通，能体谅他们的民生问题。我深信以我小小的力量，能为他们做事，能为他们发言。我对民生问题，例如生活费和人口政策非常关心。这也是我走访选区许多家庭给我的反馈。我希望选民能支持我和工人党，给我们委托，一起打造一个充满活力和有智慧的国会。谢谢大家。
Okay, thank you, Dylan. So now we can open up to the floor for any questions you may have. Yes, ma'am.
想要问你啊，这个有待报告。您刚刚谈到就是你的竞选的那个标语，整个概念主要是放权于民这样的概念。那共产党这次只是进驻28个席位，如果不能成为执政的政府，要通过什么样的程序还有方式去做到这个放权于民？那第二个问题是，这次的候选人当中，我们看到4个，有3个是没有参选经验的。那这次的除了7个现任议员之外，其他的候选人里面是不是新人占多数？是不是2011年的大选带来一个就是吸引新人的这个效应啊？我们请你谈一下这个候选人的素质的这个想法。
我们这一次竞选的这个主题呢是掌握民权，把握未来。这个主要呢就是希望人民能够知道他们手中的一票，他们的权利在哪里。怎么样通过这个民主的选举的过程呢，来达到监督政府的一个目的，来从而能够保障自己的权利跟自己的未来。所以不是所谓你所了解的所谓掌权的所谓。
你说放权于民，就是你说 empowerment。
empowerment 基本上是赋予人民的这个权利。 那么人民要有这个权利呢，首先他要懂得他拥有什么权利，他怎么利用这个权利，他怎么行使权利来达到能够接触政府，从而使到在政策上他能有得到一定的好处，或者不需要被牺牲的这个过程。所以我想这个是一个基本的一个过程。放不放权，其实这个问题并不存在，权利本来就属于人民。为什么我们需要选举？就是因为基本上政府呢民选出来，它才有它的合法性，所以并不是放权的问题，是人们很多时候并没有去介入到，其实权力在人们的手上。所以希望通过这个过程的人家知道，其实国家的主人翁是人民，权力也在于政府是通过人民的选择，而且它的合法性，而不是一种情况呢，就是变成人民怕政府的情况。我们这一次的大选所推出的候选人呢，有相当大部分是新的一个候选人。那为什么我们比较注重这新的候选人？第一就是工人者在过去这几年来呢，也能够吸收到一些不错的、比较有素质的一些新人。我们遴选候选人的标准呢，并不只是根据他的年龄，当然根据很多其他的一些因素，包括他的个人的一些人格各方面都在考虑的范围里面。那么一个政党，尤其是反对党，能够推出新的候选人，我觉得是一个很好的一个开始。因为要不然的话，你接下来的话可能继承人是一个问题。那每一个政党呢都需要更新，行动党也在讲更新，其实反对党也应该讲更新，要不然接下来的话，你怎么继续去为选民服务呢？所以共产党在这个方面，从我一开始呢是非常注重这个党内更新的这个问题，所以我们都尽量在每一届大选，在可能的情况之下，尽量推出有素质的年轻一代的候选人。所以这一次基本上我们所推出的候选人有相当多就是新的候选人、新面孔。而当然我们也不是为了要推出新面孔就推出新面孔，当然这些都通过一些理解。I think
yes, in 2011, now you set a very clear objective of winning the first GRC for the opposition. So, coming into this election, what is your goal for the government? And if I may continue on the question about empowering our future, right? The people are already empowered to elect their government every 5 years. So, what more power do you think they need?
Let me explain from the last election, 2011, we talked about the first world parliament. Then the question, of course, is then what makes the first world parliament? We have urged the voter to move towards the first world parliament by electing more opposition members, in particular to break through a GRC for the Workers' Party, which the people has responded. We are grateful of that. We would like to thank the voters in London, as well as another constituency who supported the Workers' Party. So moving forward, from the first world parliament, which we had started and moved towards to, we should entrench the system that we already have now, which we already have a certain number of opposition members in parliament. The parliament today is more diverse. Towards a more balanced parliament. And that balanced parliament is the same principle of having a more diverse parliament whereby there's checks and balance, where the government cannot do what it wants and they have to respond to the needs of the people. You have seen a more responsive government today, and we hope to see a more responsive government, even more responsive in the future. And then we have to carry on with the momentum so that we have a secure future. Why empowerment? Empowerment is a process of understanding the people's power and how do you make use of that, as I explained in Mandarin just now, through representative in parliament, thereby policies can be debated properly, thereby the government will have to take care of your needs and be responsive to you.
not. So for what? Like, we brought up a more responsive government. Today, earlier this morning, Mr. Koh Choong Yong actually responded to this and he said about how the world didn't start in 2011, and he specifically said, and I quote, the rooster crows every morning when the sun rises, but the sun doesn't rise because of the rooster crowing. Do you have a response to this?
I think if I can interject, I think we leave it to Singaporeans to judge whether they feel that the government has become more responsive since 2011. I think people are able to judge that.
Can you give us some examples of, maybe just 3 examples of policies that they have done U-turns to refuse because of the population, so that Singaporeans can judge based on your examples?
We will be doing that. To list out what but I think, as what I say, when we move forward, we'll explain and elaborate more on the concept of power of future. So I think suffice for today that I think I announced to him, and I think there are more today, it's not just what I've said.
Okay, I think maybe someone else. Please.
谈到更新会呢，我就想再问一下这样的问题了。So you also said that succession plans are in place for WP. Again, also I'm talking about the coming elections to choose the next generation of leaders. So for WP itself, can you elaborate who's the next generation of leadership that you've been growing? Is this coming slate? How long more do you see yourself at the helm of the party as well?
Well, I think we still need some time, depending on the result and outcome of this election. But you will see that the younger generation will slowly moving forward to play a more important role in the central stage. But it will be progress that will take time, and I would say that we have made good progress.
Okay, 这边有发言。
总统早报，我想要知道的是，你刚刚有提到你们的竞选的口号是掌握未来。人民进步党的谁来领导新加坡人走向未来的10年？想知道的是，如果共产党当选的话，你们一定会进入国会跟行动党一起辩论政策。你们看到的未来跟行动党看到的未来是怎样？是一致的吗？还是怎么样？
我想，未来是不是一致的？那需要经过一些讨论跟辩论。不过我想可能也相当有意义，因为毕竟新加坡有它的限，它有它的局限性。那我们所能够选择的大概也不是很多。共产党是一个理性的政党，我们不会一些非常不切实际的一些想法。所以我不认为这个是一个问题。不过我觉得很重要的一点就是，当一个国家需要走向未来的时候，我想我们不能够草率的就说这条是一条正线的路。我想我们应该经过一些探讨，那么大家应该有一定的参与。我想这是一个这个过程呢，是一个我觉得必要的一个过程。
Perhaps we can move on to some questions for the potential candidates. Kimberly?
Were some of the things that you had in mind with regard to just taking up continuation, talk about leadership renewal and all that? What did you have in mind in terms of this group of candidates compared to say the previous election? Of course, also taking into consideration your recent views going forward.
Well, I mean, naturally, you always look at who the party can feel that they think best suit the requirements of the electorate at the coming election. And renewal is always on our minds as well. So while we are not averse to, in a sense, fielding candidates who have stood before, we will also want to give potential new candidates the chance to expose and to see how far they can go in that sense to bring the party forward. Because even as we talk about empowering the future, we also need to empower our own future as a party in that sense if we want to continue playing a critical role in Singapore's political landscape.
Previously, in the last election, there was a number given from a pool of 50 candidates, 23 were chosen. This time around, we will have a larger pool, and is it easier for the Workers' Party now to attract new candidates for the
I don't think we have told you how many candidates the pool is selected from. I don't remember we said at the last election.
There was a number to, I mean, in the report about around 2 or 50 and then
We don't think we said that.
Any questions for the candidates?
Just now in your reply to the call, you mentioned people are fearful of the government, so you want to empower them, tell them you actually have more power, you can actually do something to check on the government and what is it. This fear, we see from the last 3 years, the voters party perform better in 2011 and 2006. Across the board in 2011, you saw more people, high members, joining the voters party, even other opposition parties. Where, can you tell us, where do you see this fear? This factor, some people might also say, wonder, if without this example, are you playing up the fear factor?
No, I'm not playing out the fear factor. I don't know where you get that sense from. What I'm saying is that you have to empower yourself. And of course, there are still a spectrum of society in which there were people worried about, whether there will be repercussions from the political leaders. There are still a section of that. And there are still people who had that worry. And the question, of course, is why are people having the worry in the first place? I think the awareness will not be enough. And perhaps the legacy of the past may have contributed to this. So as we move forward, looking back at the last 50 years, and we move forward to the future, I think we may want to think about whether this is going to be something that curtailing our thought, our exploration into a new era. And I think importantly, we need to build a confident people. People are confident themselves, confident that this is what I'm doing is right, I can do what I think is right for Singapore, rather than looking up to the government and taking a cue from the government.
So you're saying after 50 years of nation building and after 2011 GDP, the fear factor remains sizable enough for you to mention, and you have not acted. And do you think we are still not confident?
No, it is not a question of fear factor. The question of confidently moving forward as well. Not so much of the fear of whether or not you will be arrested, for instance. It's not that kind of fear. But it's a psychological baggage that I think we have inherited in the past, that I think we have to move on and put that at the back and move on. And empowerment is a process in which I think people feel that they are being empowered, they are the master of the land. And that I think is important and is fundamental for a mature nation to move forward and to continue to thrive in the future.
I think, if I can just interject a little bit again to add on to what Mr. Lau said. I don't think it's very much playing out of fear or things like that, but just to give some examples, I mean, we do not think it is healthy, for example, for government representatives to be present in every sphere of life, whether it be sporting organizations, arts groups, or whatever it is. I mean, what we're looking at is that we know that Singaporeans themselves, they have the passion in the causes that they believe in, or in the professions that they work in, or whatever. And we should allow such talents and such passion to take us to the next level. We don't really need a government appointee to be there to steer the direction or otherwise. So this is an example of what we mean by empowerment. It's not so much about just fear alone, but this whole climate of how things are run from top down.
It's fear of stepping out. Stepping out of the comfort zone to do something for the country and not fear the government.
No, I don't think it is that at all. But it is, and it is about people being able to run things themselves. We don't see the need for government involvement and everything. Okay, can we have some questions for the candidates? Like, is it really for the candidates?
现在上一届大选是在省长西单选区进行的，这一次能不能跟我们说你会不会再回去那里？如果你不回去的话，你会不会就是面对同样的民众党的候选人也是面对同样的批评，就是你在一个区败选，然后你会去另外一个区？
一个区，会派去哪个区？ 被派去哪一个？对，这个被派去哪一个选区竞选，我看我需要等到他刑事的决定，所以我不能回答你这个问题。
对，如果说你最终没有回到政党机的话，你会怎么回应众人的批评？就是说，因为跟行动党的候选人一样，在一个选区或败选的话，然后被调到另外一个区是算是怎样的一个现象？
我想这个问题对他可能不太公平，因为决定派去哪里呢，不是他的选择。
让我我想很大的一个不同的是，这个，听到吗？我想很大的一个不同的情况是，很多行动党败选的人选，最终都是在集选区里面第二次参选。而集选区这个制度，就虽然也会有人去竞选，但是他们所在的这个选区里面都有部长获胜，他们胜选的机会很高。而对于一个反对党的这个候选人来说，无论是在集选区还是单选区，胜算当然是没有这个学生的那么高。所以就算是我被派到另外一个选区，无论是集选区还是单选区，我觉得说是党的决定，他决定。
Regarding that, actually my friends and some of my members actually do play a part. I think the fear stems from what Mr. Lau has said, that probably due to the baggage of the past, and from my personal point of view, it's probably due to the older generation seeing what actually happened in the 70s and 80s. That's my personal view. However, I think also it plays a part that because of that, my wife is actually initially was a bit fearful. I won't say very fearful, but a little bit fearful. But he's still there.
So what was the reluctance? What was it?
I think it was boiled down to the fact that opposition is something that civil servants try not to be associated with, especially openly. So I think eventually we did actually manage to talk things out. I actually joined the party when she was still my fiancée. She could just let me if she wanted to. But eventually I managed to talk things out with her. And she met some of the party members, and I think we actually told her that Workers' Party is the rational and responsible party. So 2011 actually did manage to sink in the message to her, and not only her, but I think Singaporeans as a whole. So eventually she actually opened up, and she actually does support me today, and he said that she can't be here with me today. But I think these are some of the things that actually is happening. But I think the party has gone much further since 2011 regarding this.
Question for Dr. So since you said that you became a sociologist because you have many questions about democracy and all that, what is in Singapore, if elected, would you address more systemic issues towards inequality and poverty, and perhaps even discrimination of minority groups, like including sexual minorities?
When it comes to questions of inequality, poverty, marginalization, I mean, I will apply what knowledge I have in my profession as a sociologist to the debates in Parliament and whatnot. That's for sure. Right. So I'm not sure how is that linked to my initial questions about democracy, because I think that's on a larger picture, sets the tone of my interest in politics and my inspiration in the first place in getting it.
Daniel, because now I think some of the share that some of the issues that they are more interested in, maybe you can share a bit about what kind of issues you would like to bring us to be elected. There's some issues like policy issues that you
Right. Secretary General and Chairman would know, and MPs would know that I'm actually a very wide-ranging specialist, which is not quite a specialist anymore. So in that sense, that see, the good thing about being a sociologist is that you're equipped with a lot of conceptual frameworks and whatnot to be able to kind of move laterally, out of the box laterally, and so on and so forth, I think. So on that level, I can deal with any subject quite confidently, right? Except for maybe things like defense, which I don't really have knowledge of. That you're going to look for a political scientist. When it comes to my own passion, it's linked to issues that I have been closely associated with in my own profession. So things like education, the kind of experience that I have teaching students, experiencing the different cohorts of students that come my way. Other than education, it would be urban issues, urban redevelopment, like empowering institutions on the ground so that they will be working and working not just in terms of from a top-down perspective, right? In the sense that you're just receiving orders from above and then just carrying out the orders. But these institutions should be freed up and empowered by themselves to be able to take charge of their own affairs. One of the things that I feel that is very lacking in Singapore is that middle-level institutions that has been in a way, I wouldn't say it's bankrupted, but it's kind of left out in terms of development for the longest time. We often talk about the government in its direct relationship with people, but forget about institutions. Let me give you an example. In schools, for example, we talk a lot about principals and the kind of leadership, right, that schools should have. But we forget that sometimes that we need to really empower the teachers, because that's actually the core, that's the front line of the education system. Right? We only talk about the relationship between the school leadership and the students. But the teachers is a very key segment. And that is an institution itself. It's not just about employees. The teaching is an institution. So how do we improve and develop the institution for the future?
For any of the new cases, I will need to answer this, but the MPs and leaders have answered this question many times, about the town council. So I'm just wondering, like, for new people here, how do you assure residents and Singaporeans that the party can run another town council and things at the town council might not be the way they are portrayed to be? And then the second question is, how do you feel about being introduced at the party headquarters the traditional way compared to how PAP have been introducing their candidates at all these various different places? So any of the new places?
You see, maybe I will take the question on town council because I don't think it's appropriate at this stage to ask this question directly of the new candidates, because this issue of running town council is something for the party to handle and for the party to be judged on. And we have had our experience running Hougang as well as during Hougang East Town Council in the last few years. And we're ready to talk about this anytime. And during the election, I'm sure it will come up as well. What we also want to emphasize is that HDB residents will know that town council management has a whole range of aspects to it. Besides financial management, there's also things to do with the estate, maintenance, cleanliness, grid breakdowns, and various other things that even MND judges town councils on. So any discussion on town council really will have to take into account all these aspects. And on another note, I'm not perhaps here to sort of tell everyone that after working very hard, we have actually already completed our audit for the last financial year, FY14 and 15. And in the next few days, we will be filing our audited accounts. So when that updated information is available, I think we can have a good discussion at that point. So the other question, sorry, PNC was what?
Was about, this introduction, this traditional type of introduction at party headquarters compared to maybe at the different venues that the KP has to. I'm just asking the new
question,
faces. Well, I'm just asking the new faces how they feel about being introduced this way, the traditional way, compared to.
Okay, maybe Dylan also.
Introducing the Heartland coffee shop is a reintroducing a bit to new faces like us. The important thing is what we stand for, what we can do for the voters, and how can we help them in their decision. It's refreshing to see them in the coffee shop, but I also see that some of them is pretty squeezy, We can have different venue, but importantly, what's the message you're sending out to the voters? So I say, venue-wise, judge us what we can do for the voters, and that's for me.
I have a different a similar perspective actually. I think because I contested the last time, I also know a few friends who are in media, and some of the friends on media commented to me that in the coffee shop it was very hot and uncomfortable and cramped. And I don't like to go back to that point. To me, it's the people that know for all these years include residents, volunteers, and media. And I think coming here, we can sit down here in the aircon room. Yes, it's pretty cramped, but I think all of you are comfortable here. I think we also take care of the media. Not because, but as of the people. To us, is the people is important in every aspect. That's the thing.
Mr. Lam, if you are bound from AFP, if you allow me just to go back very quickly to the slogan, you are Singapore's main opposition party, and you have indicated that you will fill in 28 seats. So how will you convince Singaporeans that you can empower their future when you are contesting a minority of seats? And you won't even be able to block a constitutional amendment with 28 seats. So how will you convince voters that you can empower them?
Empowerment is a process. And what's important, if you look at the history of the election here, in 2001, people don't even have a chance to exercise their right to vote. How to be empowered? That is why we came up with a slogan in 2006, you have a choice. So people can exercise their power to vote. That is empowerment process. Then come to 2011, it is using of your empowerment to achieve something. That's move towards the first world power. So we are back to the fundamental to tell people, look, you have to entrench this, make the trend continue, and thereby you have a secure future. Don't forget what happened in the past. And coming to that, taking on another perspective which I think people can talk about here. You could see, I mean, if you are following Singapore politics long enough, you will know we have moved from an environment of fear environment towards an environment of more openness. And will we go back there again one day? Is that not a concern of people? And if talking about fear factor, a different level of fear, of course. As the society move forward, as we, more open up, then the fundamental question is this: as we reach a milestone here, what do we want for the future? Do we want, as the people, continue to subject ourselves to live in the kind of environment of possible fear, possible, some governmental action? Or do we have to tell ourselves, look, we are master of the land? We should tell the government that it will serve us. And the voter has experienced this after 2011. After you vote in 7 elected MPs from the Workers' Party, you have made the government work. And I've said, let's keep the government on its toe for the benefit of Singapore. You want to continue to do that? If you want, then you have to entrench the process so that you will be empowered and continue to be empowered and you have a secure future. Rather than you have to wait for the next election and you are not sure how the result will turn out. And if you don't empower yourself through supporting your position, you will be forever weak because you have no choice. So I think that's important. I think for the next 50 years, what do Singaporeans want? And it's not easy to build up a credible opposition party. I think some of you are covering enough of political party, it's not that easy. And it's very difficult, given the kind of environment that we are in. Given that you have the dominant party, you have the kind of government for the last 50 years. And that you can also understand contributing to the landscape, political landscape here. We have tried very hard. I've tried very hard. And I hope Singaporean will give us a support.
Just to follow up,
I think it's better to go back to that.
Okay, someone else, please welcome us. Can you identify yourself? Okay, sure.
Okay, so for the candidates, what do you see in terms of tweaks and policies, in terms of immigration issues, should more be done on
the Workers' Party is not an anti-immigration party. So we have to be very clear with that. And what we believe in is that we need to focus always on Singaporeans first. To focus on the Singaporean core and to build that up and to invest in it. So we don't want a situation where immigration is treated as a way to cure whatever ailments of society, ailments of some economic policy in the past. So we would rather that the government focus firstly and mostly all their energies on boosting the Singaporean core, whether it is in terms of birth rates, whether it's in terms of employment, in terms of skills, and so on. So that is our position. Right? We have called for the limiting of immigration, right? Not to use a planning perimeter of 6.9 million people as a way to kind of guide policy, because once you set a kind of planning perimeter, it starts to seep in and become a reality. We have to be very conscious and focus instead on the principle. And the principle is to always focus on Singaporeans first and foremost.
Thank you, Daniel. Jamie, I think the second part of your question, I don't think we think there's a need to answer it, because there are also many candidates who, some of them who have no ground experience, who come to other parties. So, I mean, I'm not sure whether you're suggesting that they can't go into the role.
No, I'm sure they can. I'm just asking, because they talk about touching people, and I just think that 2011 we had a lot more people coming in, a lot more to say that we understand. As we talk about the selection process, including what assures you that these people are the type of people that really understand the issues? I think it's the same question we pose to me as well.
Well, I mean, you're right that we have had some increase in interest after the 2011 GED, and our preference always is to observe the new person over a period of time. We believe that this is also beneficial to that person, because sometimes people may have a certain perception of what being in opposition parties like. And of course, those of us who are in it will know that it's not just about elections where the national attention is on you, and some people may even find that glamorous in a way. But in between, it can be a real hard slog, especially when you're not elected. In many of these constituencies, they are the incumbent, and they're supposed to be there all the time. But for opposition parties, for potential candidates who are not elected, I mean, in our party, in any case, we believe to be active on the ground, but you have to realize that these people also have to earn a living. So there has to be some balance somewhere. I mean, we will try to be as committed as possible, but at the same time, there are limitations. So coming back to my original point, it's good for both the new entrant as well as the party to take a period of time to understand each other more fully. And time is a great teller. I mean, eventually you can see whether the person can fit in or not, where the person's heart probably lies. And I think that's the way that we prefer to do it. Okay, maybe we just have one more final question from someone who has not asked before. Okay, okay.
那也提到说，就是这几年在政治当中，然后就是对民生问题特别关心，可以点出就是现有的有关民生的这些政策，哪一些你觉得不足，要改进的地方？另外一个问题想问林先生，刚你提到就是说不要由党来决定人民的未来，是要人民自己去决定。那你觉得就是去人民保障有保障的未来是什么样的未来？然后是不是两县制？你也觉得新加坡已经具备两县制的条件吗？我的意思。
当然，民生问题也包括人口政策。我们看到很多就是外国人进来新加坡，每年都是有100万，只是进来只是跌了到了40-50万。这些都是进来新加坡跟新加坡人竞争工作，新加坡人的安全感在哪里？也说到我也是说民生问题，就是退休金、CPF、公积金足够吗？足够他们退休吗？财富管理这方面足够吗？这些都是一些民生问题，我们需要探讨。也是说到价钱生活高涨，生活费高涨。 水电费，我们有一个系统，水电费在贫穷或者平民家庭中，水电费是不能带来一个负担。我们也要看好我们的水电费，我们的怎么去制衡这个水电价钱，所以有种种民生问题都是需要我们探讨。所以这些都是我会尽力去看一看，怎么能够帮我们的居民发言，提倡一些方针。谢谢。
刚才我说过，就是人民的保障是不同的层面。赋予自己的权利，使到你自己有权利，能够呢选出你的代表，那是其中一个。那么至于这个未来呢，是怎么样的一个未来？我想新加坡会有光明的前途，会有一个辉煌的未来。但是这个未来对每一个不同的人可能有不同的前途，所以每一个人呢都应该通过一些参与的渠道来讨论这个未来。那么至于新加坡的发展会不会成为两党制呢？这个难言之过早。现在目前的情况呢是一个很不平衡的一个情况。国会里面绝大多数的这个议席呢都是执政党的议席。新加坡反对党目前就有7个中选的议员，所以是否会发展成为两党制或者多党制，或者省制，还是回去一党专政呢？那我想还是个未知数。
The last question from the lady.
The opposition is pushing for a concept of unity. Is this a viable concept? Does the Workers' Party care for this?
Where are you from? Could you ask the question again? You're saying that the opposition is pushing for unity. Who do you mean?
The opposition as a whole. So everybody, all the different parties are all wanting a united front, and they are pushing it to go just as a whole. So I mean, is this something that is important to you? Is it something that you are focused on?
I think we have a very diverse opposition here, and I have made very clear at the Punggol East by-election in my speech. 道不同不相为谋。I think we have different objectives, different leadership, and I was under a lot of pressure I don't remember which year. At the point in time, I was just probably 2001 the period. When they had formed the SDA, Singapore Democratic Alliance, with major opposition party then, for the Workers' Party to join them as one of the component parties. But I believe that as a down-to-earth person, if I can organize a party, can develop a party to offer Singaporean a credible choice. I think that should be a fundamental thing that I should do since I joined the Workers' Party before going further into larger framework of all opposition, unity or all opposition front to challenge the PAP. So that's my belief, and thereby I think we started off with the Workers' Party, we built ourselves up. And today I think after 20 years, we are still talking about opposition unity. So the Workers' Party has taken its own path, and I believe that it's the path in which we can build a credible party to offer Singaporean a credible choice. That is the way I look at it. That is a path we have taken, and I believe that we will continue the path.
Okay, thank you everyone. Just to confirm, are we able to upload the profiles now? Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, The detailed profiles of the 4 potential candidates that we've introduced today will be uploaded onto our website now. Same address as before, www.wp.sg. So thank you very much for coming, and I will see you tomorrow.